What screams I peaked in high school? Getting the score of the football game you won against the school's rival tattooed on your shoulder. When I was in high school, this guy a year before me had a fearsome reputation. At house parties, people would fear him just by name alone. He would show up to parties with his cronies and start fights. He came from a decent enough family. Everybody wanted to be on his good side. Anyway, he graduates high school, and most of us were still in 12th grade. I remember he used to come around lunchtime to smoke with the people out front, shoot the breeze and talk about how much fun it is to just sleep in and do nothing and have all this freedom. A couple of months of cool. 2. Why are you still here? As we awkwardly shuffled back to class. I dated a guy with his high school mascot tattooed on his arm. It was such a turn off. A guy who graduated from my high school back in 2003 was arrested a few years ago for his second DUI. He was wearing his Letterman jacket in his mugshot. I picked up some stuff at my parents' house when I was 25. One of those things is my Letterman's jacket. Put it on, got in the car, had to stop for gas. Who happens to be filling their car next to mine? My high school wrestling coach. I wonder how much of a loser he thought I was. I wasn't even that good. At my 10-year reunion, the prom queen came wearing a tiara with a custom Queen 03 sash over her shoulder. I had to go outside, I was laughing so hard. But I'll be damned if she didn't rock that outfit the whole time. So, respect. We used to play indoor floor hockey in a loft room in the big gym of my middle school. One game I scored 3 goals. One of them being a bank shot off the wall. The next year I wrote about the game for an assignment in English class and the teacher read it to the class the next day. I'm not sure which one was my peak. Billy Joel feels compelled to write a ballad about how you and your ex were the king and the queen of the prom. How the two of you married right after high school. And how it all went to hell from there. Bonus points if your names happen to be Brenda and Eddie. Still bullying the nerds at your 10-year reunion. Or worse. In real life. I briefly worked with a guy I went to high school with. And like 90% of our not work related conversations were him reminiscing about how much he'd bullied me in high school and acting like it was all a big joke. Dropping out of college to promote your pyramid scheme. As someone who recently graduated, the students who returned to the school every time they came home from school just so people would pay attention to them. Sharing every memory from Facebook, talking about the good old days and wish we could go back when it's only been a few years since graduation. Filming yourself running drills and throwing footballs off camera in front of your van mobile home. Selling pot to teenagers and then trying to get them to stay and smoke with you. Still bragging about high school basketball games from 10 years ago. Want to earn money from home and set your own hours? Thank you all for the hella love. And sorry you all have had that Sivasty, read. Distant acquaintance, reach out to you with a desperate sales pitch. Always showing up to the football field wearing your Letterman jacket. Years after you barely passed summer school in order to graduate. The class that graduated before me had their 10-year reunion last year and apparently a big fight broke out over something that happened when they were all still in high school. I guess that is one way to tell if someone peaked in high school. Pretty embarrassing. Selling your pyramid scheme essential oils on Facebook. When I was in high school, the cool kids partied hard. They'd get blackout drunk and used whatever illegal substances they can get. I was looking through the profiles of some of those classmates and a few of them are still doing the same. Talking gangster despite growing up in a middle-class suburb. Talking about how they miss their kids who are in CPS custody because they went to jail for using. Going on rants about narcs. Etc. They're about 27 or 28. What made you cool in high school makes you a loser as a grown-ass adult. Especially when you're a parent. Teachers who suck up to the athletes and other popular kids and ignore the less popular kids. My freshman year Spanish teacher was like that. At my high school, a coach was worshipped by the girls' basketball team. My first year of college, it came out he had been grooming the girls since middle school, 2012. Suddenly a lot of petty fights between the girls made so much sense. I went to school with a girl whose parents graduated from our high school 20 years prior. All 4 members of their family got the school's logo tattooed. Her boyfriend still goes to the football games and reposts his game highlights on Instagram. We're all 21-22. I'm from New Mexico and live in the largest city in the state. We've never had a good HS football team, and the BF usually goes to pick up underage girls and brags to everyone about how he was the star football player. If someone from another team makes a really good play, he'll make some kind of remark about how he could have done it better, or he'll go into a detail about his JV football experience, making any mention of SAT or ACT scores. Bonus points for that IQ test you took when you were a kid online. I was in the NHS, so I know a little bit about leadership anytime after high school. The National Health Service. Edit. Cook. National Honor Society. Got it. Now please. Stop filling my inbox. 1. Still wearing your Letterman jacket and class ring in your 30s. 2. Talking about high school sports games from a different decade as if they meant something. 3. Still living in your hometown and looking forward to that night at the bar just before Thanksgiving when everyone who left comes home, so you can talk about high school stuff to people who have grown up and have real lives now. My friends used to get together to play Halo, the old 4-person split screen multiplayer, and they'd destroy me every time. Now, we've all moved away and we play shooters together online occasionally. I win almost every time now that they can't see my screen. Those are screen peaks in high school. Anyone that still wears their Letterman's jacket after high school. Dying before graduation. Constantly sharing stuff about how great they were at high school football. Working at Scoops Ahoy. Talking about high school football drama. When at an interview and asked what your biggest achievement was and responding with, well, when I was high school. Hanging out with kids in high school after high school. We had a guy we nicknamed Pedo Dave, was like 20 and still lying around with freshman and sophomore girls. Man, that guy was a skeezy. People who say high school is the best time of your life. One strap. Not letting go of old memories where you were QB on the football team. Doing senior pranks. Teeing on the freshmen. On and on and on, and just never shutting up about it. High school? I peaked in elementary school and it was downhill from there. Edit. Thanks to everyone for relating. Wearing your high school ring after graduation. Lol, I didn't even bother to pay for one. I did, however, wear my dad's old one for laws. And completely convinced this girl I was 66. Because of the graduating date. I'm almost 30. But I look 18. Told her I had a metabolism defect. A football coach at my high school held a record as a linebacker for when he was in high school in the 80s. One kid a few years ago on the first string varsity team came 30 yards away from breaking that record. And the coach promptly took him out of the game and kept him out for the rest of the season. Only one game left at that point. So no one could break his record from 30 years ago. One of the few good things, maybe the only good thing, about the UK's usually education system is that hardly anyone, except those who have had an expensive private education, gives a about their old school. No loyalty to the old school. Sports loyalty when at school was practically non-existent. No one, apart from those on the teams, usually gave a about how the sports teams did. No yearbooks. No jackets. No proms, at least when I went to school. That aberration seems to be creeping in now. No one gives a. School reunions are rare, if a thing at all, here. I still know and see a few of my classmates or ones who were at school when I was there. But only because they still live locally and it's not that big a place. The others, I have no idea where they are. How they are. Even if they're still alive, and with maybe 2 or 3 exceptions. Have no great wish to find out. Constantly going back and visiting your high school. Being a high school arsehole then trying to reconnect with the people you look down on because daddy's money can't buy you friends. Her name is Karen and she wants to see the manager now. Getting super excited to go back to a high school reunion. I ran into someone I went to HS with and they asked me if I was excited about our 5-year. I was like 5-year what? And she was like reunion and I was like WTF, that's real. Yeah, who wants to see all of their old friends and how their lives turned out? Constantly posting about whatever activities they did in high school decades after it ended. I'm 34 and have never peaked. Me after 3 beers. But it's more of a heaving sob. Still living in your hometown and never traveling. You just described both of my sisters. Except they do travel. Every year they go on separate vacations to the same exact place. Let me be clear. The same vacation spot every year. Not to a beach or someplace interesting. To Branson, Missouri. Yeah, no. What Vegas would be like if it were run by Ned Flanders. A full 3 hours from our hometown. So they're not even trying very hard when they do vacation. Never traveling. Fine. The hell does living in your hometown have to do with this? Both of these things also take money, so you pretty much just chat on most poor folk without knowing anything about their histories, intellect, or abilities. You know. That's not always their fault. Selling leggings or weird jewelry on social media while being a stay-at-home mom. Not high school but frat alumni who talk about the old days hazing and partying with all the hot girls. Wearing your class ring. Like. Why were they a thing at all? They were so chunky and ugly and cost like $70 on the low end. $70? Damn, that's cheap. The greasy class ring company that my school went through started at $400 CDN. Wanna see my prom pictures? I used to be so fit back in HS. You should have seen me play ball back in the day. I probably could have gone to play college. Wanna see my highlight reel? I had a guy every other week when I was a teenager. Look how skinny I was back then. I was cheer captain at my HS. I made sure bitches feared me when I walked the halls. It's like, okay, we get it. You were popular and feared. We're nearly 30 now. Get over yourself. Still drinking in the same pub you drank in as a student. Because that's now full of students. So you're that guy or girl who never left home and drinks with school kids much younger than you. I get older. Uncle Rico. I did some work at a guy's house when I was about 20 when I was on summer break from college. I was doing some landscaping and such. This guy was a cop. About 35. And was married with a pretty nice house. I would work there and he would pop over to the house once or twice a day for lunch or whatever and would check on how the work was going. But one day he tells me to come to the garage with him. He is searching around the garage for something but won't tell me what. Finally he finds a box with his old homecoming crown from high school when he was named Homecoming King. He started talking about how high school was such great memories and all that. He was trying to show off and thought I'd be really impressed. But I was really embarrassed for him, to be honest. That's actually not the worst thing I've read thus far. I mean, if he's making a living, married, and has a pretty nice house, that's a success story compared to a lot of these other people. The gym coach. My mom, a 42-year-old, has a giant stack of numbers that boys gave her in high school. She brings them out to brag every now and then. It's embarrassing. When the cool kids, me, still going to high school parties when you've been out of school for a few years. Constantly reminding people you once scored 4 touchdowns in one football game. Constantly correcting everyone who's wrong on minor details. A smartest tone. I think you mean a smug tone. Having 3+ kids by the time you're 25. Edit. I just got home and saw all these replies. For all you folks getting triggered and well actually I'm me. Save it. I never said there was anything wrong with having a lot of kids at a young age. Just that it indicates you might have peaks in high school. Whatever you take that to mean. No one is judging your life choices and Reddit is not ting on anyone. Short soccer mom haircut in their 20s. Let's be real. You got cocky. Accidentally got a kid who you regret and tell everyone they are the greatest thing ever. While every weekend they get drunk and act like they really wish they had in their late teens and early 20s. It seemed to last from their mid-20s to late 50s. The only thing that changes is their wrinkles. Hey man, leave my sister alone. Never advancing your life past the moment when you graduate. I have a cousin who still lives with his parents. Has had the same job he had since junior year. And has done all with his life. Alternatively, I have a cousin the same age still living with his mom but he's going to college and taking care of his grandmother. I think he wants to make it as a concept artist but he's working on a fallback degree before he makes the big leap. Huge difference. This guy who graduated 2 years before us peaked in high school. When it was my year to graduate we had a teachers versus students basketball match and because the pay teacher knew they were gonna lose he invited this guy to play for them. Since he had nothing better to do and wanted to relive his glory days he came and played. Screaming sigh, haven't even begun to peak. I am a golden god. Maintaining an adolescent style of clothing a decade after graduating. Teen clothing is meant to send a message and even define the wearer. A mature wardrobe shows that you're socially well adjusted. I graduated in 2012 when white tank tops, basketball shorts, sandals, and long socks pulled up to the knees were the trend. I see 25-year-olds walking around at stores like this. Their belly pushing through the wife beater more than ever before. And it makes me think that they never got over their popularity in 12th grade. And yes, there's a difference between this and just dressing comfy. This is a specific style. This whole thread is a trip. Actually, back when I was a believer, I did a 2-year mission for my church. And after finishing, I refer back to that experience nearly every day for 4 years. I still do sometimes. I peaked during the mission. And this thread is describing my every behavior. I wonder if these high school peakers are actually just disillusioned with life and using nostalgia as a coping mechanism. Working at an ice cream shop in the mall. Don't you dare disrespect Steve Sivhay Harrington. Your only friends are from high school. You tell your college grad older brother yes you got a math heavy degree. But in high school I took algebra 2 and you took geometry like everyone else looking for the easy path. Says to older brother everyone looked down on you in high school. Get said when older brother says you are 38. You graduated 20 years ago. Please tell me you have something to be proud of from the past 2 decades. A high school teacher who berates a student, me, for deciding not to go to prom. You're going to regret it for the rest of your life. Huge social media presence. Dennis Reynolds. He hasn't even begun to peak. But when he does you'll know. He'll peak all over everybody. Going to high school parties when you are out of high school over a year. Working for a multi-level marketing company. Uncle Rico. Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen. Of course. Really aggressive sport parents. I stayed in the same hotel as a little league team and there wasn't a single parent that I didn't despise. Forcing your kids to be good at sports. MLM boss babes. Reaching out to people you have not seen or spoken to since high school to get them to buy essential oils, protein shakes, leggings, makeup, scented candles, whatever else. Or to be part of your downline. Had this one time at band camp. Steve Holt. Loud mufflers and revving your engines on residential streets. Having your parents spend over $1K on a custom designed prom dress. But not even having a date. Also having your rich parents throw you a music festival for your birthday that is named after you. Person's name Chella. I'm very interested to see what the next decade outside of high school is like for this individual. A Slipknot tattoo. An older model Honda Civic. And an assistant manager job at Pizza Hut.